Soon the dreaded tax season will be over. And as more and more people sign up as part-time contractors, side gigs, selling stuff on Etsy, driving for Lyft, taxes get more complicated and we get more anxious. And you know what? Criminals are waiting to take advantage of that anxiety.
Oh, they're everywhere, aren't they?
They are.
Lydia Desnoyers is founder and owner of Desnoyers CPA. Good to have you back, Lydia.
Thank you. Good to be back. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you. So how are criminals working it this year?
Oh, they are working hard. We have our usual scams that I'm sure we've talked about before, but the latest one is the one that's really interesting is these scammers, before what they would do is call taxpayers and scare them into giving their sensitive data and, their tax information or personal information so they can file phony tax returns. Now they are taking a kinder approach. They're actually calling as if they're from the Taxpayer Advocate Service organization, which is an actual independent organization within the IRS. And so they're calling pretending to be your friend, and they're here to help you, and you're eligible for refunds, but give me all this information about yourself first. And then they're spoofing their phone numbers, and so when the number shows up on your caller ID, it would look as if they're legitimately calling from the IRS, this TAS Services organization. So that's really interesting this year.
Well, and here's the thing, though. No matter what office of the IRS it is, they don't call you.
Amen. Preach. Say it loudest for those in the back. Yes, absolutely. I think people forget that the IRS does not reach out to you unless you have an ongoing issue where you're working directly with a specific agent that's been assigned to you. The IRS will not be the one to call you. They'll send you 1,000,001 letters, but they won't call you. So if anyone calls you claiming to be from the IRS, asking for your personal information, you already know it's a scam. Hang up. Do not feel threatened. Do not feel obligated to provide any of your information. Just hang up.
Is there any segment of our society or generation, age group that's mainly affected by these scammers?
You have two main groups. The younger generation, they're new to paying taxes, new to working, probably have not been educated. And so those kind of people are susceptible to these scams. The other group are the elderly. Those that are just really vulnerable, are not being cared for by, other adults, the younger generation. So they are more susceptible to these kind of frauds. So not to say anybody in the middle is not, subject to it, but those are the two main groups.
So, if somebody that an elderly person or one of your kids is getting scammed, what can you do?
Well, first and foremost, education. Educate those individuals that the IRS will not reach out to you, any organization for that matter, if a bank or whatever. If anyone's calling you, asking you to verify your information or provide your information, hang up. The second option is if you do feel like you've been subject to any of these scams, you can contact the institution, whether it be a bank or the IRS, and just protect your information. Those are really the main things that you can do to prevent this or to mitigate any losses.
And for the aggressive ones who say, hey, we're going to come and get you, how do they usually want you to pay?
They'll ask you for, honestly, they'll take any form of payment. They'll ask you for a wire. They'll ask you to send it in the form of a gift card because those are not really traceable. And so you just have to be careful. They'll ask you for anyhow that they can get those funds right then and there on the phone. They'll even ask you to go to one of those wire transfer places and wire the money to XYZ account. And so you just have to be careful not to make any payments. Anybody's being aggressive and asking you to pay.
All right, Lydia Desnoyers is a CPA, and thank you so much for your time. I know that these guys get so creative, and it's incredibly frustrating, especially if somebody that you love has been taken by one of them.
Yeah. KOGO,
absolutely.